EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to the JAKIB post-game show. The Philadelphia Eagles win a nail-biter. And Sills, I'm calling it luck. I'm calling it luck. Whether you want to say it was God himself or whatever it was on this Sunday, the Birds get the win 22-16, moved to 11-2 on the year. That's their 9th straight victory. And boy, was it an ugly one today, but a win is a win, as they say. Big Sills, what did you just see and what we just saw? How did Xavier Legette drop that ball at the end? A total busted coverage. He was wide open. I'm erupting at the TV. Birds got lucky. That's it. That's the only way to explain this. The Eagles got lucky in this game.
Way to battle a 3-win team. I mean, hey, I got to say, man, way to show up today and play down to your opponent. I mean, without a doubt, I didn't see anything special out of Carolina. The quarterback on Carolina outplayed the elite Jalen Hurts. I mean, why didn't you just keep running the football? Keep running it. Keep running it. Do you understand how bad Carolina is on every level defensively? Every level defensively. They're not good anywhere. Some of the things that we brought up prior to in the pregame show, Zander, if you remember, I said, look, they got an O-line. They've got a running back, and the running back was essential in it. I mean, look, they're a bad football team who made bad plays in the game. That's why they are a 3-win team. What's the Eagles' excuse? Their offense, once again, is the worst offense in pro football in the first quarter. You can't give me struggling against Carolina and tell me, what's this? Zander, if you struggle against Carolina and you struggle against the Ravens and you struggle against Washington and you struggle against the Giants, let's do this. That is a fundamental, philosophical, organizational decisions that they're making that are wrong. It doesn't matter if you're playing good teams or bad teams. You suck at your process that you talk about consistently in the first quarter. You completely get away from running the football with those stupid pass plays. Dude, how are you in a fucking game with the Carolina Panthers? They are awful. And you're like, people started tweeting at me. Well, Sills, they were close to Tampa and they were close to Kansas City. Wait a minute here. You've been telling me you have the number 1 defense in pro football, and you told me that passing game wouldn't rear its ugly head. It did. It did. You should have been annihilating that team in the passing game. AJ still couldn't be defended. Your quarterback took now his 32nd sack of the season, Zander. How many times did he take you out of field position, too, when it came to poor decision-makings in the pocket? By the way, Jake Elliott is officially a problem.
Yeah, he's officially a liability. He's 0 for 5 from 50-plus this year. So as you get into a playoff game, you need a kicker that can hit a 50-plus yarder. He is officially on the liability list.
By the way, if they don't go for 2, he misses the extra point on that too,
I know. It's so true.
Extra point.
Yeah, he's completely become a liability.
All you can ask for if you're a 3-win team like Carolina is to have a last shot to win it. You did this with Jacksonville, and you now have done it with Carolina. Dude, Zander, you're in game. How many people thought you were going to play a 60-minute ball game today? I didn't.
Sills, I got to be honest, you were really on the money with what this Carolina team wanted to do in this game, and they were able to do it. You said they're going to want 12 to 14 play drives that eat up 7 to 9 minutes. They had 2 of those as their touchdown drives, and they nearly had another touchdown drive at the end. How did Legette drop that ball? So he was wide open. I'm like clutching my head as I'm watching that game. I couldn't believe he dropped that pass, and I think that would have ended the game. I mean, Birds were up by 6 at that point, so they would have had a chance to take the lead with the point after, and maybe the Eagles would have had 40 seconds, but a crazy finish to that game. Let me give everybody the stats real quick. Jalen Hurts was 14 of 21 in this game for 108 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 4 sacks, 25 yards of sacks. Saquon Barkley, listen to this, everybody. 20 carries, 124 yards, 1 yard short of the jersey giveaway here on JAKIB Sports. Hurts at
Oh
8
my
carries.
God.
1 yard short. We couldn't even get a jersey from this game. A.J. Brown, 4 catches, 43 yards. Devontae Smith, 4 catches, 37 yards. Clearly nothing prolific going on in the passing game there with that Eagles offense. So let's get into Jalen Hurts, the starting topic. By far his worst game of the year, in my opinion. And actually, Sills, I'll go as far as to say this is the first game in this 9-game win streak, maybe outside of the Cleveland win, that I look and I say, okay, it's great to be 11-2. I don't think we can hang with the best teams in the league if we play like that. This is the first time. Now, we've had issues with the passing game in the past, but the running game was so dominant. Everything else made up for it. Today was a combination that I saw where if you have that performance versus Detroit, they will beat us 38-14. They will blow us off the page if we do what we did today versus one of the better teams in the league.
How about this? Watch how many people around the city and watch how many people will come up with the lamest excuses in the world for that quarterback's performance today. He's terrible.
Oh, we're already getting him.
I would say this to you, that easily could have been his worst performance in 2 years. He was terrible. And by the way, I'm also adding the shitty opponent involved in this too. We're talking about the 28th worst pass defense in pro football. By the way, Zander, what happened to that vaunted defensive front line of the Eagles in stopping the run? Because I'll tell you what,
they were manhandled.
Carolina was one of the worst rushing attack teams in all of football. They didn't come to play today, man. I mean, they just did not come to play. They thought they were going to throw their helmets on the field. And this is the first game in this stretch, Zander. And get this. This is the worst game in the 9-game stretch that they have had where you went like this. Holy shit, they got issues going into the postseason. And when you're going to play against a better team, your quarterback is a deficiency. Bryce Young outplayed Jalen Hurts today.
No doubt.
He was a better ball.
Bryce Young was great. Listen, Bryce Young doesn't have a big target downfield. It's very evident that they're missing the big target downfield. And when Leggett did get open, he couldn't even corral the ball. I think he had 3 or 4 drops today. And they're relying on a 34 or 35-year-old Adam Thielen, who had a great game today, but they don't have the weapons. And Bryce Young, sliced and diced them. He nearly went 100 yards on that last drive if Leggett had caught that ball, 98-yard drive to seal it. But I want to get back into Jalen Hurts. So I think he's the lead story in this game. I really do. And I'm not. What are you seeing from him right now? Because to me, it looks like as good as the offense has been, as great as our running attack has been, it almost looks like a reversion to 2021 Jalen, where he was so confident running the ball, but the passing game just was not there. It's not there anymore. What has happened? What are you seeing with Jalen Hurts?
Didn't you hear also, even Mark Sanchez saying they're wide open throws? There's wide open throws that he's missing. Hey, dude, when they had to rely, because they did the Philadelphia Eagles had 209 yards rushing. You never know it. I mean, if you think about it, if you count the sacks, they had 83 yards passing. If you put the sacks in and you look at the team statistics, do you want to hear this, Zander? They had passing 83 yards of passing offense when you minus all the sacks that Jalen Hurts took in this ball game here. I mean, 83 yards, and you had 200 yards of rushing offense. Why are you not sticking with that? And to your point, when you're asking the catcher, what's wrong? Well, Kellen Moore has not improved the passing game. End of story. End of story. He has not improved it. The offense has been improved, and I've been banging on this for 3 fucking months. He has not improved it. The quarterback is regressing. And by the way, he's seeing the blitzes. Bullshit. He's taking more sacks. That was his 32nd sack that he has taken this year. Last year, he took 36 sacks. He's going to blow that away. That guy was terrible today versus an awful team. How do you think that's going to look when you play the Kansas City Chiefs? If you're fortunate enough to get into a Super Bowl, they will put 50 on you.
The Chiefs. Forget the Chiefs. We're not going to get to the Chiefs.
Shit, you're not going to get by Minnesota.
Exactly. You're not getting by the Packers, Minnesota, Detroit. You might not even get by the Baker Mayfield-led Bucks for crying out loud. I mean, that was brutal.
Awful performance.
I mean, their defense was ranked 31st in run defense and 28th or 29th. This was a bottom 5, and offensively bottom 5 and everything too. They're bottom 5 and everything. I didn't think the defense looked that good today. I didn't think the offense looked very good today.
How about
just an all-around bad game for the Eagles?
How about this? I told you that you were going to get the Super Bowl performance of the year by the Panthers, and you did. This is the Zander. This is the best they can play. Do you understand how, like John McMullen, I heard him during the week with you. They have nothing to offer with their defensive tackles. They have nothing. And they were putting pressure on Hurts the entire game. By the way, I think he hurts the O-line in pass protection because he's moving fucking too much around. And by the way, stop moving to your right. You're predictable. Every goddamn time they pressure him, rolling right. That offense, seriously, I was goofing on it saying that it reminded me of the Army offense. Dude, if that guy doesn't make plays with his wheels, he is below average as a player. Dude, I think he's a good player, Jalen Hurts. But I do not think he is one of your better quarterbacks in pro. Dude, you struggled today. That's his worst game of the year so far. And again, versus the worst team of the year. You add that up.
Now, you said something about Kellen Moore in the passing game, and I agree. It hasn't been improved. Are you putting that on Kellen or Jalen?
Because because the things that they're doing right now, they're doing so much to try to improve the passing game. And I see these fucking idiots in here with 11-2. You keep throwing records at yourselves, you're going to come up with no medals at the end of it. It fucking doesn't matter if you're 11-2. At the end of it, if you can't cash it in, you've got two superstars on that football team, A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley. The rest of them are non-factors, and that includes your quarterback. I'm more convinced than ever. A game like that now puts me once again in the position where my convictions are right. That fucking guy is not good enough to win a Super Bowl.
14-21 today, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns for Jalen. Certainly, I think it was his worst game of the year by far. I think he looked lost in every area.
Not counting his rookie starting year in 21. That's the worst I've seen him in a 2-year span.
What about Jake Elliott? What are you doing about Jake Elliott? Have we reached a point here where it's worth considering bringing in another kicker?
You're too late in the process right now, dude. You're too late in it. You know, if you were going to make a decision on this guy, you had to have done this. Are you really – get this. Zander, this is what you don't want to have happen again like last year when you made these off-the-wall knee-jerk reaction moves where you're sitting there. Dude, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying, though, don't you think with 5 games remaining or how many games they have remaining here, don't you think that's a little late in the process here to be looking for a clutch kicker as you're going to – so you're going to can the guy, your quarterback's playing like shit at the passing game, and you're going to go into the postseason wanting to play against Detroit, who has everything on all cylinders going, or maybe, how about this? Maybe even Minnesota. You really have to not panic in this. Hey, is he a problem? No doubt about it. No question.
He's 0 for 5 on 50-plus yards. He hasn't hit one kick this year of 50-plus yards.
Get this. I just saw what's his name say, well, you know, Kansas City struggle. Kansas City is not as good a roster as you. Kansas City doesn't have the offensive firepower you do. They don't have A.J. Brown. They don't have Saquon Barkley. They don't have any of those players like you have. It's such a fucking flawed conversation with Josh Allen, with anytime you match up the Eagles versus any other team. You know why? It's your fucking quarterback. He doesn't match the talent you have in your huddle. Okay? You say Kansas City. Yeah. They beat people with dudes at the perimeter. Who's their running back? a guy who hadn't played all year long in Kareem Hunt. They win games. That quarterback in Kansas City carries his team. That quarterback in Buffalo carries his team. And by the way, stop comparing yourself to a champion. You're not.
Moving into the Eagles defense today, Sills, you brought it up. That was Bryce Young. I mean, Bryce Young looked pretty damn good out there today. What'd you see from the Eagles defense? They've been the number one defense all year long. I think they're a big reason we've been able to run the ball so effectively and been able to stick to that on the offensive side of the ball. What'd you see from the defense today? They did not wow me, and you brought up what stood out the most. The D-line got terrorized by that Panthers O-line today for most of the game.
Absolutely. They threw the ball for over 200 yards, and they ran the ball. How in the world does Carolina run the ball like that? I mean, how do they ran the ball? By the way, not only that, but Carolina held the Eagle offense to 56 plays. Do you realize how good that is? By the way, Carolina played to their average. The Eagles played down in every aspect. Get this in this game against the shitty 3-win Panthers. More first downs, more total yardage, more passing yards. They were killed by running, and I don't know why the Eagles got away from that. And when you're talking about sacks, they did a great job in sacking the quarterback. They only surrendered one. The Eagles had 4 sacks in the ball game. Okay? The Eagle defense didn't do that bad a job. 288 yards in total off defense they give up every game. They gave up 302. Okay. They give up about 100 yards in rushing. Okay, they gave up 118. Zander, this came down to the offense shitting the bed in this ball game and allowing those possessions on the other side. The Eagle defense really didn't play all that awful when you look at their numbers and what they've done all year long. At the end of the day, this was the offense shitting the bed.
Yeah, and which is weird because Saquon Barkley had 124 yards. Jalen Hurts had another 60 on the ground. You're looking at 209 rushing yards. So for the people who said our rushing attack is going to be enough, well, you ran the ball for 209 yards today, had 22 points on the board against one of the worst defenses in the NFL. I don't see how people can look at this and say, okay, this is a good transitive game. Our team looks like we can hang with the best. We don't look like that. We don't look like that. I think, and quite frankly, Sales, I think you're being nice. I think you're being soft on them. I mean, from a guy who rips them all the time, I think this team is so rippable today. It's unbelievable how shitty they looked versus the Panthers. And I think there's so many permeating problems that could become late in the year.
I don't know how anymore I can go knee deep into somebody versus a 3-win team. Yeah. It's embarrassing. I'm not sure how much more you can say. The quarterback stunk. The offense was terrible. The play calling was terrible. Special teams outside of Elliott was excellent again. By the way, the game, you know what the game-saving play was? The final fucking punt that put the ball down inside the 5-yard line. That was the game right there.
And they still almost overcame that.
Absolutely. If they would have had a normal possession where they were on the 30, they win that bitch.
Dude, if Xavier Legette just had hands and caught that ball, he was wide open. That would have been a touchdown.
Dude, it reminded me a lot of the Jaguar game, how they left that guy with an opportunity to win. They made a poor play at the end of the game. No question about it. Carolina doesn't have near the talent. No, they were last possession. Remember what I said, Zander? Last thing I said. Carolina wants this thing to be a fourth quarter football game, and they want to have an opportunity to win it in the fourth quarter, and they had the opportunity to win it in the fourth quarter. How about them stopping them on third down, too? When they were on the plus side of the field, Hurts takes the sack, they have to fucking punt it.
I know.
I mean, that was how do you not pick that up with the guy who's right now in possession of becoming the all-time leading rusher in Eagle history? How do you not pick that up?
By the way, shout out to Saquon Barkley, who did become the leading rusher in Eagles history. Pretty cool to see him do that. For those looking for the jersey giveaway, 1 yard short, everybody, 124 yards today for Saquon Barkley. Sills, you know what stood out to me also today? You're missing Brandon Graham on this football team. Those edges were not good today. And
Nolan Smith was annihilated today.
He was annihilated. But you know what else? The intangible of Brandon Graham was also missed today, where your defense is tired. He's all juiced up. bringing you the energy, bringing you what he brings in the veteran leadership. That was missed today. I thought clearly on the edges.
Absolutely. You even heard Mark Sanchez pointed out a couple times, you've got to be stouter at the edge like that, more than that, because he was getting blown off the ball. Here's my fear on what's going to happen. Okay? I think what's going to happen is that young kid's going to get worn out because of the amount of plays and reps and tonnage that he's going to have to play. By the way, where was Josh Sweat? I mean, I saw a sighting and then he went away. They were running right at Nolan Smith. Right at Nolan Smith. Make no mistake about it, dude. That's how they were getting those positive yardage. I was shocked. Hey, fat ass, get off it. Jordan Davis, show me more. Let's go.
Yeah, he did not look good today. He was getting no penetration on the front. I thought Jalen Carter was good again, but
Yes.
the sky's blue. I mean, Jalen Carter's going to be great. We need more than just Jalen Carter on that defensive line to make a run here late in the game.
And this just in, Adam Thielen destroyed Cooper DeJean today. Completely destroyed him. Hey, young kid, welcome to the NFL. You were owned today by a 35-year-old wide receiver who's experienced and knows what he's doing. That guy was chasing his back pocket the entire ball game.
Yeah, Adam Thielen had a hell of a game, and that was probably Cooper DeJean's worst game also as a pro today. He did. You're right, Sills. There, and even John pointed out at halftime that throw where that Bryce Young threw an interception. Cooper DeJean was beat on that. Bryce Young overthrew him, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson picked it off. But that could have been another big play there on Cooper.
Let me give you a good note here. Zander, put a number down on a piece of paper right now on how much money you're gonna have to pay Zach Bond, because fucking again, unbelievable performance by him.
I got 13 to 15 million.
Dude, he is so good that he might just change the entire landscape. That he might just be the All-Pro starting linebacker. He was phenomenal. He was sensational. He was all over the field. I'll tell you this, Zander. That's the best linebacking performance I have seen by a Philadelphia Eagle linebacker since Seth Joyner. This guy is out of hand good. Holy shit, pass rushing. How about the fact and how he runs guys down to the sidelines in pursuit? Dude, New Orleans didn't know this? That's embarrassing. That guy continues to shine. And you know what? He's getting better and better and better and better every week. I thought Dean didn't play bad. I thought he played another good ball game here today, too. I didn't think he was all that bad. Remember something, Zander. The defense at the end of the day didn't really get off their numbers. Around 100 yards, they gave up 118. They gave up 280, 290 in total yards. They only gave up like 200 yards and 300 yards in total offense, 20 more. It wasn't terrible. It was the complete incompetence of the offense, giving too many freaking 3-and-outs. Do you understand this? The Eagles only had 9 series. And in those 9 series, there were a ton of 3-and-outs. That comes down to taking sack. Remember when our friend from the Inquirer, Marcus Hayes, said taking a sack is not like a turnover? Don't those sacks start to feel like turnovers now when you're turning it over and you got to kick it back to the other team? That was my point with him. They feel like turnovers.
What'd you think of that clock management there, by the way, when they gave the ball ultimately? Now, it turned out to be good because the punt went down to the 2-yard line, but they were at a 54-yard field goal range. They decided to line up on 4th down. Then they took the penalty for delay of game, trying to get him to jump offside. Then they decided to punt. I was like, boy, a field goal here makes it a 2-possession game. The game's over. What'd you think of that series?
I'm not giving Elliott a 53-yard
opportunity.
There.
Too short of a field for the Panthers.
And too much of a risk because of the way he's performing right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
If Elliott had been performing better, Zander, I'm okay with what he did. By the way, think about what Nick did here. I shit on him. You know what, Zander? That penalty probably put it inside the 5.
That's
because
true.
It pushed it back and the punter had more room and had the ability to get down there. I don't know who it was. I think it was Avonte Maddox or somebody got down there.
Maddox. Yeah, it was Maddox.
And stop that inside the 5. You've got to give Nick his kudos there on that one, because taking the penalty, think about it. If they don't take the penalty and punt it, they punt it in the end zone. and he gets the ball at the 30. So it's a different world. So that worked out well for them.
83 net passing yards today against the Panthers, the 28th ranked.
Or 28th.
How do we fix this, Sills?
You can't.
We can't. We got Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert, top 5 offensive line. What do you mean we can't fix this?
I told you from day one, he's not good enough to fix this. He will never be that guy. You need to run more RPOs. Stick to the RPOs. He's excellent at that. Stop pretending on who he is and who he's not. He's not a pocket guy. By the way, don't you think 32 sacks with 5 to go is a lot?
It is. It is a lot.
He had 36 all last year. He's going to go over 40-something sacks this year. Those are minus plays that he's putting his team in when he does that. Those are the essential of like missing passes and turnovers. They're hiding his turnovers with sacks. Okay? They're hiding his turnovers with sacks. I'm telling you, dog, run the ball. You ran the ball for 209 and you didn't feel it, did you? You didn't feel that. You dominated
the rushing offense today.
You dominated the Panthers at the point of attack with the O-line. But you know what? Why doesn't it feel that way?
It certainly doesn't. I mean, like I said, 201 yards today. That was the textbook Eagles game, right? 100-plus passing yards, 200 on the ground, and that's where apparently we were going to beat every team this year. Well, it barely worked today versus the Panthers, and you can see how if you keep a game close, that's what changes the scales a lot in these games. Now, Adam Thielen today, 9 receptions, 102 yards for the 34-year-old veteran in his 6th game of the year. Comes out, and I thought he shredded the Eagles' defense all day today, namely Cooper DeJean, and you brought him up. We did get a super chat about him. I'll try and read that now. Yeah, Dober's Army checks in. Unfortunately, Sills' fave, Cooper got worked all game by Thielen, even in the blocking game. Meanwhile, Quinion locked it down again. Quinion was good. He didn't get picked on at all today, but who's picking on Quinion, Dobers? I mean, they don't have anybody over there. That Xavier Legette guy, everybody talks him up like he's this great player. I saw him.
By the way, if he would have made his catches, he would have owned him too.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, remember, that guy's got hands of stone, that kid. If that kid catches his passes, they catch the game winner on him.
Let's read a couple more super chats here. Josh Herman checks in. Sills, talk to these people, please. I don't want to hear any silver linings. Rip some ass. Josh is not happy with his Eagles today. Laura checks in.
Again, the offense is regressing. Get this. You're more predictable now, Josh, than you were last year. You're 10 times more predictable than you were last year. The only difference that they're trying to do now is that they are trying to put those you know what, Zander? They are trying to put those RPOs in as fast as they possibly can on that offense because they know that how many times, dude, AJ Brown was open 5 or 6 times today, and Hurts missed them every time. I don't know how many times Mark Sanchez said that in the telecast.
Mark was drilling into that.
Field.
Yeah, Mark Sanchez was drilling into Hurts on missing A.J. Brown. Laura checks in. No one better argue with Sills anymore. Hurts is why that game was even close. He's the reason we won't win a Super Bowl. So, Laura, feeling similar to how you're feeling about Jalen Hurts. That was certainly an uninspiring performance there, Big Sills.
Absolutely. And again, you asked the question, how can you fix it? Fix it how? Fix it the thing that he does the best and go to 22? That's how you fix it. What they do, they're still so stubborn. And the first 15 to 25 plays is all you need to know about Nick Sirianni and his coaching staff. Why are you can't perform against bad teams. You can't perform against good teams with the first 25 plays. It's something you're doing, Zander. Zander, it's something they're doing as a coaching staff. Don't you not agree? Whether it's the Panthers or the Ravens, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It's something they're doing that gets these teams. Here, get this. You got out to slow start. Dude, if it wasn't for that Bryce Young interception going into halftime, the Carolina Panthers outplayed them in the first half and that complete momentum going into halftime.
Yep. You're 100% right. I said that on the halftime show. Brian Pumper checks in. Big Brian Pumper, all you Hertzy, Squirtsy fangirls are done. Watch your hero take a stupid sack and delay on the last drive. Respect Brian Pumper. Brian followed up and said, how are these clowns praising banana pudding? That was a touchdown if Leggett held the ball. I got smoked for all you Hurts guys. Yeah, Darius Slay made obviously the big play to end the game, but I thought he got picked on a lot today. And I've been protecting Slay with you on the shows this year, but he was burnt toast a lot today.
How about this? I saw people because he made some pretty good plays.
He made a big play at the end of the game. You got to give him credit for that. That
he made two actually. He actually made two big plays.
Yes, the tackle,
the ball game. But if you put his play in context and put his plays for the game, how many times did they target him, and how many times did he get penalties on him because guys were getting past him? I mean, dude, it looked like he was a liability out there. Then he makes these two plays at the end of the game, and he pushes that narrative back. But I got to tell you, Zander, as we're getting more and further closer towards the end of the year, do you remember the prediction I made? I told you that guy would be out of gas by the playoffs. Well, I don't think I'm going to be wrong here with this guy, because he surely looks like he's running out of gas.
Yeah, you're right. Every play seems to take a toll on his body, and it's interesting. We'll see how it happens. John checks in. If Dallas goes 7-7, they're beating the Eagles along with Washington. The season is over. Come on, John. Let's not overreact. Dallas is still alive. Count your days. Jalen just like 23.
Hey, John, you're missing my criticism today. My criticism is your Eagles are this close to winning a Super Bowl. Okay, with performances like that, you become this. The Cowboys are a Grand Canyon away from being a competitive team. Now, to John's point, though, not to shit on you, John, Cowboys have more talent than Carolina. Okay? Not at the quarterback position, though. Not at the QB position. Remember, Bryce Young played well today. I'll tell you this. Hey, Zander, they have fucked that kid up. He's not bad. Bryce Young is not bad. He just needs some more talent around him. Get him another tight end. Get him dude. He's throwing to a 35-year-old wide receiver, and he almost beat the Eagles with a 35-year-old wide receiver.
Rodney Burton checks in with what is CHF, like a Swiss franc or something? Interesting currency there. He checks in. Jalen had 3 touchdowns. It's the goddamn NFL. Chiefs beat them by 3. Xander, in the beginning of the week, John called the game a scrimmage. They were trying some different things. Hurts did a few bad reads in the RPO. My QB and coach are winners. Hey, listen, Rodney, you're certainly entitled to feel that way, but we got to come up here and do a talk show every day where we're going to analyze the game. That was an ugly football game, my friend. And in fact, you bring up something that's alarming. The minute they try anything different, it looks like that.
That's so stupid of a take right there. I appreciate what you're doing there, and we thank you very much. But that's the NFL, a quarterback throwing for 70, 80 yards and having drives stop with his inconsistency in the play. And by the way, Rodney, nobody's ever said to Jalen Hurts, can't run the ball. That's the only thing he does well, is that he's okay throwing it. And he's okay throwing it to single coverage guys. Dude, he's a good football player. But at the end of the day, he is not a quarterback that you're going to win he's not going to pull a Nick Foles and win you 3 football games in a row, carrying a team on his back to win a Super Bowl. He's just not.
He said, followed up, it was ugly. I mean, games are difficult. I hear you, Rodney, and I appreciate your support of the channel, brother, and you're certainly entitled to feel that way about your team. I, to be honest with you, have a little bit more concerns than you do moving in here. Let's get to we're going to get to our first commercial break. Before we do that, I just want to give you the floor here. 30 minutes now settled into this thing. A nail-biter finish, 22-16, the 9th straight win for the Eagles. Just your thoughts here to wrap up this first segment on what the Eagles did today.
They were terrible. It was the worst performance in 2 years. Everything that you were hoping they wouldn't do, they did. Played down to their competition, sputtered on offense, shit the bed in the first quarter. The quarterback was inept, not competent enough to win you that game. That game was won because of the running attack, the 209 that they ran. Outside of that, that passing game reared its head today. The defense, at the end of the day, made plays when it had to. They weren't awful still. They gave up. You got to remember, like I said, Carolina was one of the worst offenses and one of the worst defenses in pro football. and you made it a 4-quarter football game against another shitty team. You now have on your resume, you played into a fourth quarter to the 59th minute against Jacksonville and Carolina. You're not winning a Super Bowl playing that type of ability when you had that on the other side of the ball and think you are going to beat Detroit in an NFC title game. Not happening.
Coming up later on in the show, we'll have John McMullen join live from Lincoln Financial Field. I'm curious to hear what Johnny Mac has to say about this game. It was an ugly one, and I think Sileo has rightly ripped into this team in all the right spots, and I'm feeling, quite frankly, the same way he is. So we'll get to our first commercial break. I appreciate everybody in the chat. Hit that like button. When we return, we will get to more super chats. We'll discuss this defense, the offense, what's going on with the offense, if they can get it turned around. More breakdown of the game that ensued today. 9th straight win for the Eagles. We'll do all that next in the JAKIB postgame show coming up next.
Ignite your nights with